Hi, 6th grade. Welcome to another math video. We are going to continue in our chapter about dividing decimals. And today we're going to look at how we divide by a decimal. So let's review just a little bit about what we've been doing. So in our previous lessons, our division equations had a decimal as the dividend, okay, the number that's inside the house, and a whole number as a divisor, the number that's outside the house. So we were only dealing with one decimal in our division equations up to this point. But today, in this lesson, we're going to be working with decimals as both the dividend and the divisor. So the numbers that are both inside and outside the house are going to be decimals. Okay, let's get started. Make sure you have your journal open so you can do some of the work that we have, and you can do your practice problems at the end, okay? Okay, let's start with the word problem. This says, Ian's gasoline can holds 5 gallons. The gasoline tank on his lawnmower holds 1.5 gallons. How many times can Ian fill the lawnmower's gasoline tank from the can of gasoline? So in order to figure this out, we're going to need to divide. And we're going to need to divide the 5 gallons by the 1.5 gallons that it takes to fill up the gasoline tank on the lawnmower. So we would set it up like this. Now you're saying, Mrs. Conan, I thought you said that we were going to have decimals both inside and outside the house, both as the dividend and the divisor. Well, we're going to get to that in just a second. So here is how it works when we are dealing with division equations that have a decimal as the divisor, so as the number outside the house. We cannot leave them as decimals. We have to move that decimal point however many places to the right in order to make it a whole number. So in this case, we only have to move it once, because once we move it once, it now becomes 15. Now, just like when we were working with fractions, and I said it over and over again, and it probably drove you crazy, whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top, okay? When we were finding common denominators and stuff like that. Well, in this case, whatever we do to the outside, we have to do to the inside. And so since we move the decimal point one place to the right on the outside, we have to do the same thing on the inside. Now, 5 does not have a decimal point right now, but remember what I've been telling you, there's always a decimal point. We may not see it, but it's there. And so it's right after the 5, it's just to the right of the 5. So we're going to move that one place as well, and it becomes 50. So now we have a division problem that's 50 divided by 15. So let's see if we can do this. So 15 into 50, okay, it does not go into 5, but it does go into 50. So right above that x, we're going to put a 3, okay, because 3 times 15 equals 45. We're going to subtract, and we have 5. Now, in this case, we are not wanting a remainder, so we are going to annex a 0, okay, drop that down, and because annexed to 0, we're now going to have a decimal point right there. And so we have another 50, so we know again that 15 is going to go into 50 3 times. 3 times 15 is 45. Okay, we're going to subtract, we get another 5, so we're going to drop a 0, okay? Or are we? All right, let's go back to our other lesson that we did about returning decimals. Do we keep just dropping zeros, or is there something we can do to stop once we see the pattern? There's absolutely something we can do to stop, okay? We don't want to just keep writing 3s over and over again. So once you see the pattern, you stop, okay, and you put the line over the repeating decimal. So in this case, it's the number 3. Okay, so let's just do a little practicing of that first step that we talked about. So the step where we have to take the decimal point that is in the divisor, and we need to move it to make that number a whole number. So in this case, we have 25 hundredths, or 0.25, being divided into 75. So why don't you go ahead and move the decimal point for me. Show me that step of moving the decimal point and what that should look like. Okay, so hopefully you have moved that decimal point 2 places to the right. Okay, and whatever you do to the outside, you have to do to the inside. So we're going to move it 2 places that way, 2 places to right for the dividend as well. So now we have 7,500 being divided by 25. Okay, awesome. All right, we're not even going to solve that one right now. We're just practicing moving our decimal point. Let's do one more. So we have 125 thousandths being divided into 55. So let's go ahead and practice on this one too. Go ahead and move your decimal points, I should say. Okay, awesome. So you should have moved it 3 times on this one, outside and inside. So now we have 55,000 being divided by 125. Awesome. Okay, so that is just something that we need to always remember. Always, always, always. The very first step, when you are dividing with a decimal as the divisor, you have to move the decimal point. Have to move the decimal point, okay? Okay, so let's do a couple more for practice. So I'm going to have you guys do these 2 problems on your own. As you do them, I want you to be on the lookout for those repeating decimals, okay, because that might come up in one of these problems. So go ahead and let's start with this first one. We have 22 being divided by 0.3 or 3/10. So go ahead and you can pause the video and you can do this one. Okay, good job. So hopefully you remembered that our first step is to move your decimal point as many places as you need to the right to make it a whole number, to make your divisor a whole number. So in this case, it was 1 time. Whatever you do to the outside, you do to the inside. So we had 220 being divided by 3, and your answer should have been 73.3 with a repeating bar over the 3. Okay? All right, here's your next one. So we have 0.75 dividing into 150. So go ahead and pause the video and do this one. Okay, great. So for this one, you needed to move your decimal point twice. So now we have 15,000 divided by 75, and your answer should be 200. All right, one more problem that we're going to do before we're done with this. Okay, so our last problem we're going to work on today is 12 divided by 2.8. And in this one, I want us to practice rounding and finding an estimated answer. And so for this one, I want you to solve by rounding to the nearest thousandth. Now, because you're going to round to the nearest thousandth, that means you need to go 1 place beyond the thousandth place in order to round. And so, like you see right here, my little clue for you is you're going to solve to 4 places past the decimal point before rounding, because that is 1 place further than the thousandths place. So that's how you're going to round, okay? So I want you to go ahead and try this. We've done these already this week, so this should be a little bit of a review for you. So I want you to go ahead and attempt to do this problem, okay? You're going to give me an estimated answer by solving to the nearest by rounding to the nearest thousandth. Okay, let's take a look at your answers. So first, you needed to move your decimal point. So you have 120 being divided by 28. And then here we have our big long answer. So after annexing your zeros, okay, you should have ended up with an answer of 4.2857. Okay, and then at this point, you needed to round to the nearest thousandths place. So our 5 is in the thousandths place, so we're going to look 1 place beyond that to the 7. 7 is greater than 5, so that means that our estimated answer is 4.286, okay? Now, don't forget that when you're showing an answer that has been estimated, you use the little squiggly equal sign, and that tells me that that is your estimated answer. Okay? Okay, so tonight, beside your video notes, you have 3 practice problems on page 200, 1, 3, and 5, and these are all due on Friday. Okay, hope you have a good night, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.